Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Ferris State University Football National Signing Day Press Conference. I'm Rob Bentley, Assistant Athletic Director for Communications here at Ferris State and the voice of the Bulldogs, and welcome. We'd like to thank those fans tuning in statewide, online, and around the world here on the Bulldog Sports Network at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. This past fall, the Bulldogs advanced to the NCAA Division II National Quarterfinals for the second consecutive year. Ferris State made its fourth straight trip to the NCAA Division II playoffs, posted an 11-2 overall record, marking the first time in school history the Bulldogs have won 11 games or more in 4 consecutive years. Last summer, Hero Sports picked Ferris State as Michigan's best collegiate team, regardless of division. Some other statistics: over the past 3 seasons, the Bulldogs have posted a 45-7 overall record, won 2 league championships and a super region title, in addition to back-to-back national quarterfinal trips. The Bulldogs also own the best record of all collegiate programs in Michigan and in the GLIAC over the past 6 years at 60-14 overall under head coach Tony Annese. Shortly, we'll hear first from the head coach of the Bulldogs and the nation's winningest active head coach in Tony Annese, who will make an opening statement on this year's recruiting class. And following that, we'll break down each member of this year's class with comments from Coach Annese. Once that is done, we'll open it up for questions and comments. Following the press conference, fans can find biographical information along with photos, video, and more at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. At this time, I'd like to welcome the head coach of Ferris State University football, Tony Annese, who will make a few opening remarks on this year's recruiting class.
Thanks, Rob, and thank you for reading all those accolades. It's obviously a point of pride for us to be able to do the things we've done here, and we feel like as a program we're continually growing. Our challenge is to continue to pursue the things that we've pursued over the course of the last 6 years, and there's a couple things still hanging out there. Obviously, our ultimate goal is to win a national championship, and we're in hot pursuit of that goal every year when we go out and recruit, and something that we sell the young men that we speak with. This class is 28 players. We are not recruiting to get attrition. We're expecting to get 28 kids through school here, and that's the formula for how we've operated the last few years, somewhere between 25 to 30 young men. So playing 3 extra weeks in the playoffs, obviously a great thing to have happen for us. We played up till December 2nd, but it does become challenging in that some of our opponents are trying to get early commits, and when they get those early commits, I try not to mess with young people. If they have committed, then I try to honor that commitment. So some of our opponents got early commits, and so it forced us to really look long and hard at other places. I think it made us better in the long haul, but we've got 11 out-of-state players this year. We've had great success with out-of-state players. Obviously, I can list names like Jason Vanderlaan and Reggie Bell being 2 out-of-state guys that have been our quarterbacks here, but we've had great slots and skill position guys, and so we feel great about that. They come to Big Rapids and feel very comfortable here. Of the 28 guys, 23 were in their playoffs their senior year at their high school. 4 of them played in state championship games. 2 of them won state championships, and that are the players of the Muskegon Big Reds. Give them a shout out like I always do. So it's really a solid class. We've got great athleticism, some really good big guys, and some guys that potentially can move around. It's hard to slate everybody in a position right now, so I can tell you how many offensive players and how many defensive players we recruited, but that is subject to change based upon the strength of the players we get. But very excited about this class. I want to thank my coaches who, again, worked their tails off to be out there. Like I said, December 2nd, when the season ended, we got to close up shop and do our exit interviews, and by the time we were able to get out on the road, it was exam week, and then we came back and had our first official visit on January 12th weekend, and it went great from there. When we get young people on campus here, the young people see how great this university is, how many unbelievable academic programs we have, and then how outstanding our culture is. You know, they get a chance to meet our current players, and they our current players love being here and love each other, and so people get that vibe right away, and it helps us being a huge force in being successful in recruiting. I always tell young people I want them to want me as badly as I want them, and part of our whole method to doing that is having them be on campus and for them to choose us without pressure. I know there's a certain level of pressure, but we don't want to, you know, back young people in the corner. We want them to want us, and that way we have the, you know, the retention that we aspire to have with young people and have this be an educational process. So with that, Rob will go through the names.
Thank you, Coach Anise. We'll begin now by breaking down this year's class of prep signees, starting in alphabetical order. Our first signee is Giovanni Agassi, a 6'4", 290-pound offensive lineman from Livonia Stevenson High School. He earned all-conference accolades, was a multi-year starter and standout performer on the offensive line, who led his team to the state playoffs in his prep career. He played on both sides of the football, was tabbed as one of Michigan's top 25 players in the class of 2018 during his career, and was a big and powerful standout, one of the top prospects on the offensive line in his area, who was a team leader on and off the field.
Yeah, one of the great names, Giovanni Agassi. So we like Gio. You know, he had a great senior season, very versatile athlete. We're looking for guys, big guys, 6'4", 290, but we're also looking for athletic guys, and Gio fits that bill. You know, we think that our offensive line, we only lost one guy off our team entirely this past year, and that was Jake Doherty. But so we got a good group of offensive linemen led by Gio.
Our next signee is Justin Alley, a 5'9", 165-pound slot receiver from Seminole Ridge High School in Florida. Competed both at wide receiver and defensive back on the prep level. Was a 4-year varsity letter winner who also competed in track and field. Was named to the Palm Beach 8A football squad, coached by James Parson. Led his team to a state playoff appearance after an 8-2 regular season record this past fall. And was tabbed to the Prep Builders watch list as one of the top prospects in Florida's class of 2018.
Yeah, just, look at these names, and I suggest you Google their name and watch their highlight film if you're a big Ferris State Bulldog fan or an opponent, and you want to look and say, goodness gracious, they've got a lot of good athletes again. But Justin's one of those. We've done a nice job finding those special slot receivers, guys that are inside receivers for us, and we've just been extraordinarily good there. Got a lot of good ones still here, but Justin's going to add to the strength of that unit. When he came here, we fell in love with his personality, and I think he fell in love with Ferris State on his official visit. So we're pleased by him choosing Ferris, and he also is a potential DB. So we'll see how that all irons out, but we really feel good about Justin Alley.
Next up is Jake Baxa, 6'5", 270-pound offensive lineman from Marmion Academy in Aurora, Illinois. He played on both sides of the ball up front and has also competed in basketball during his prep career. Garnered all-conference honors for Marmion Academy, where he was coached by Dan Thorpe. He competed in the Chicago Catholic League, was regarded as one of Max Prep's top offensive line prospects in Illinois, a multi-year starter and all-area choice, who is a highly regarded prospect and an honor roll student.
Yeah, we like Jake. We think there's going to be a lot of growth with him. He's really kind of came into his own the last year or so, and 6'5", 270, we feel that he's going to probably be a 6'6", 300-pounder. And like I said, this past year you saw just a lot of growth, and there's still more room for that kind of growth, both physically and just developing as a player. He was hurt most of the year this past year, played with a injury and just grinded it out, and plays for a legendary coach there in Illinois, Dan Thorpe, and Marmion Academy is a great football school, and we're excited to get Jake.
Our next signee is Brendan Bingston, a 6'3", 285-pound offensive lineman from Braden River High School in Bradenton, Florida, who was named to the Blue-Gray All-American Bowl Showcase game, was a 3-year starter at center, where he helped his team compile 2,500 rushing yards and 2,253 passing yards this past fall as an anchor on the offensive line, led his team to the second round of the state playoffs, and has also been a standout wrestler who earned state runner-up honors, was tabbed as one of Florida's top offensive line prospects in this year's class, and chosen to the Florida All-State Class 7A team.
Yeah, Brendan's a great wrestler. I love those wrestlers. They understand leverage. They really understand how you need to compete. It's not easy to be a wrestler, and so Coach Brady was down on that side of the state. People are like, how did you find all these Florida kids? But we sent Coach Casula along the Atlantic coast and Coach Brady along the Gulf Coast, and so we found him, and we walked into the school, Coach Brady did, and immediately liked Brendan and sent the film back up, and we're like, yeah, let's really make a hard pitch for him. But like I said, state runner-up in wrestling as a heavyweight wrestler, playing on a great high school football team. So a winner, and when he came up here for an official visit, we looked at his body, and we just really feel like there's a lot of potential there, and he seems to be like a guy that's really committed and a tough guy, so we're excited to coach him.
Our next signee is Derrick Bradford, a 6'1", 250-pound defensive lineman from Apopka, Florida, who competed on both the defensive line and at guard. Powerful, strong lineman who helped his team to a state championship during his high school career. A two-time All-State honoree for the Blue Darters, who earned all-district accolades this past season, was ranked as one of the top prospects at his position in the Orlando metro area, chosen to compete in the Florida Athletic Coaches Association All-Star event, and was a two-time All-Metro choice for a team that reached the Florida State playoffs and was ranked #1 in the state rankings this past year.
Yeah, Derrick reminds me of Marquise Dawsey, who was a shorter, powerful defensive lineman here, also from Florida. Derrick's from Robert Thomas III's high school, and so we got a good connection there with Coach Rick Darlington, who helps us identify players, and he said this is one of the best ones he's had. A hard-working young man. We'll see what happens. He might be an H-back. That's where he played in high school. He was kind of a blocking fullback, but we also kind of think that he can be a D-end or an interior D lineman once he gets a little bit thicker and puts weight on. But he's a powerful young man. He's got good film, and we thank Coach Darlington for his help in identifying him, and we're excited about Derrick.
Next up, we have Sheldon Cage, a 6'3", 220-pound running back from Grosse Pointe North High School, who was a first-team All-State honoree, played both running back and linebacker, was labeled as one of the top players in the state of Michigan, garnered significant recruiting interest, led his team to the state playoffs, received Michigan Division I-II All-State first-team recognition, also named to the Associated Press and Detroit News All-State teams, who totaled 1,763 yards on the ground with 21 touchdowns. Also led his team in tackles with 64 total stops this past year.
Yeah, we thank Sheldon. He's our running back recruit. So we don't like to stockpile personnel in certain spots, and I think we've got 5 running backs on campus right now. Sheldon will be the 6th. He's as gifted as anybody in this class. Big. Powerful. When you're carrying 9.8 an average, obviously you're able to really carry the ball effectively. You watch his highlight film against some of the powerhouse teams in Detroit, like East English Village, and it was difficult to tackle Sheldon. Coached by Frank Sombrera, who always claims he was my babysitter when I was little, so believe that or not, but I've known Frank Sombrera and the family for years and years and years, so we appreciate everyone's help steering Sheldon our way, but we really feel like he's got just great upside. Very humble, kind young man, and a person that really just has great upside, and we're feeling like he could be a guy that could be, a force in this league, and so look forward to having him on campus.
Our next signee is Cody Corona, a 6'5", 305-pound offensive lineman from Rockford, who is regarded as one of West Michigan's top prospects up front. Received strong recruiting interest, was a 3-year starter and team captain. Also played multiple positions on the offensive line. Earned all-state accolades from the Associated Press and the Detroit News. Was a top 25 prospect in the state of Michigan in the class of 2018 and a multi-year letter winner up front.
Yeah, we love Cody, coached by Coach Ralph Munger. So I think right now Rockford has 3 players currently playing in the NFL. So the whole makeup of being a Rockford offensive lineman is something that certainly is appealing. And then you throw in 6'5", 305 in that formula, and you're thinking, we got a really good chance to have a great one here. So feel really good about Cody, and he's been committed to us for a long time, held firm to his commitment, and we're really excited to get him on campus. But again, the West Michigan connection is really important to us, and we've had great success with West Michigan players, and we feel that will continue with Cody.
Next up is the defensive back, Derrick Corbin, 5'10", 170 from Western International High School in Detroit, who received Division I recruiting interest, played both quarterback and defensive back, was tabbed by Rivals.com and Michigan Preps as one of the top players in Detroit, a Detroit Free Press All-Detroit honoree, was also an All-State selection from the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News, who claimed Detroit Public School League honors, an All-Metro choice and standout player who led his team to a state playoff appearance, the school's first ever in 2017.
Yeah, coached by one of my favorite guys and one of my best friends in Detroit, Coach Andre Harlan. Derrick's, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he kind of reminds me of the whole situation with Tavier Thomas. Tavi had to play quarterback, and I don't mean to say stuck in a position of quarterback, but that's kind of how DC was. He is the quarterback, and so it's hard to see all the great things that potentially he can do athletically. But he did have Division I offers, and so we were pleased to be able to get in on him and make a pitch for him. But we think that he's got great upside, and he's been a guy that is really highly respected in the Detroit area, and so we're expecting great things from Derrick.
Our next addition is Omar Disla, a 6'1", 265-pound offensive lineman from West Ottawa High School in Holland, who led his team to an 11-win season in 2017, played multiple positions on the offensive line, was tabbed by Max Preps as one of Michigan's top prospects at his position, claimed all-conference first-team recognition, is a talented performer from West Michigan who led his team to a conference championship last fall, a multi-year starter and letter winner who also served as a team captain and was a West Ottawa Scholar athlete.
Good. Coached by former assistant here at Ferris State University, Ryan Oshnock, who, in my opinion, was the coach of the year in all classes this past year. He took a program at Holland West Ottawa who was suffering some challenges and came narrowly close to knocking off Clarkson, who ended up winning the state championship in Division I. Also wins the OK Red for the first time in forever and those kind of things. So I think maybe the first time in West Ottawa history they won the Red outright. So great job by Osh. Proud of him. And Omar, is a guy that, we think he'll play center for us, but he potentially might be a D lineman, depending on how big and strong he gets. He's a good athlete. His film is really good. He's a guy that obviously helped lead West Ottawa to great things. We got one more West Ottawa guy I'll mention later, but the later guy's best friend is Omar, and so it'll be great to have them come along, and we're excited to welcome Omar to our team.
Next up, we have a defensive back, Le'Veon Fields, 6'1", 175 pounds from Detroit Mumford High School, was a talented DB who also played quarterback on the prep level. led his team to a 7-4 overall record and a state playoff appearance in 2017 when he received the prestigious Valor Award at the 2017 Detroit Public School League banquet for strength and the will to win. All-state player with strong academic credentials who was a two-time All-Detroit Metro Choice, also named to the Associated Press and Detroit Free Press All-State teams.
Yeah, Lady very similar to Derrick in that he was a quarterback. So all you quarterbacks, don't get too nervous. I think we've got 5, but we're not recruiting all of them as a quarterback. Levy is going to be in the defensive backfield for us. He's got just great personal qualities, very respected around the city of Detroit. So we feel good about him. Coach English is a good friend of mine as well, and he thinks that Levy's one of the best people he's coached in a long time, beyond being a great football player. So he was committed early and held on to the commitment. People would try to get in there to see him, and he wouldn't even see him. So that's, that for young people, that's the way it should be. When you know where you want to go, you're committed to where you want to go, and otherwise, let's not use the word commitment. That's just my little spiel on my frustration with that word, particularly at the Division I level. But Levy was committed, and when he's committed, it means something very significant. And he stayed with us and signed with us, and we're expecting great things from Levy and Fields.
Next up is Chase Ford, a 5'11", 195-pound defensive back from Birmingham Groves High School, who saw action at running back, defensive back, and outside linebacker. Led his team to a state playoff appearance as a senior. Received strong recruiting interest from multiple schools. Was a Detroit Free Press All-Metro selection. Also ranked among the top running backs in the state of Michigan as a senior. Received Detroit News All-State honors and helped his team to an 11-2 mark as a junior, the most successful campaign in school history.
Love Brendan Flaherty, the head coach at Groves. Been a good friend for a long time, and he thinks the world of Chase. I also love Chase and his mentality about football. He's a winner. I ask him, how much do you love football? And he goes, I love it, Coach. You love it when it's cold? Yeah. You love it when it's hot? Yeah. You love it when it's raining? Yeah. Do you love it when it's snowing? Yeah. So he's a winner in all aspects of what winners really, value. And so he fits in perfectly with the group of winners we have here at Ferris State, determined to be his best and passionate about, the team and putting, the team in front of himself. That's everything Chase Ford is, and really enjoyed meeting his family and felt very comfortable. And he's going to feel great being here because he'll enjoy the great family atmosphere we have, and he's going to be a great player. You'll be hearing about Chase Ford here a lot in the future.
Next up, we have Terrell Haas, 6'4", 240-pound defensive lineman from Three Rivers High School, who also competed on the offensive line, was named to the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association Division IV All-State team, was a two-way starter, 3-year varsity letter winner and starter, who led the Wildcats to an 8-3 record in 2017, along with a district finals appearance. Was also chosen to the Bank Hoops Class B All-State basketball squad last year, who led his team to back-to-back playoff appearances on the gridiron in his high school career.
Yeah, I don't want to overvalue big guys playing basketball, but I guess I will. I watched Terrell's football film, and I liked it. And then I watched his basketball film, and then I loved it. So I like the way I like to evaluate how people move on the floor, particularly big guys like Terrell. And he moved very, very well on the floor, and so I feel like he's got a great chance to really, grow physically, and I think he's the right kind of guy, a person that really wants to compete and be successful, and he scores a lot of points for the Three Rivers squad, and he's had a lot of success as a football player, but it's very impressive how he conducts himself and is respected around the Three Rivers High School, and so I'm expecting good things for him. I think that he's a guy that, has really good athleticism, so we'll just let him grow, lift weights, eat, and see where that body ends up. But he's got a lot of potential.
Next up, we have Coty Hindi, a 6'2", 235-pound linebacker from Pinckney, who was a standout linebacker and offensive tackle. Continues a recent pipeline to Ferris State from Pinckney that includes two-time All-American defensive end and NFL prospect Zach Sealer, three-year letter winner. Led his team to an 8-2 overall record in 2017 when he had 115 total tackles, had a county-high 140 stops in his junior season, was one of the team's captains, who also garnered all-state recognition, all-conference honors, and all-county accolades this past season.
Yeah, you know, Zach Sealer, Adam, and Wes, you know, we got three here already, and now Zach's leaving, and we're bringing another Pinckney kid in. So Coy's, you know, we found him late, and we really made a hard pitch on him late, and we're happy to get him. But he's a big-bodied guy, you know, 6'2", 235. We got Trevor Tank from Southline a couple years ago, and Coy reminds me of Trevor in that he's a big, thick guy, and Trevor potentially, you know, might end up being a DN for us. And so, you know, we'll see what happens. But that's, you know, that's a big, thick body who runs around and is very competitive. So we're excited.
Next up, we move to the defensive line. Cameron Harad, a 6'3", 271-pound lineman from Belleville, who was a dominant defensive player up front, led his team to a 10-1 overall record in 2017, was a multi-year starter and letter winner, three-year varsity standout, who received strong recruiting interest, was chosen among the Michigan High School football's top defensive line prospects in the class of 2018, as he competed for one of the state's top-ranked squads, who led his team to a state playoff appearance as a senior.
We were a little bit nervous about Cam in regards to some Division I's coming in late on him. There were two Division I schools particularly who were in there late, and Cam wouldn't talk with him. He held on to his commitment, and he loves Ferris State, so really excited about that. You know, Coach Crowell there at Belleville's obviously built a championship program, and on the verge of winning a state championship. And Cam's one of the winners in that program, you know, one of the leaders. You can tell as he walks around the hallway, you know, how people feel about him. But he's a big old strong guy, and we expect him to really be a guy that contributes early, and we're expecting big things from him.
Next up from Muskegon, we have C.J. Jefferson, a 6'1", 185-pound wide receiver who was a standout for the Big Reds, ranked among the Lake Michigan Football Report's top 20 prospects on the west side of the state, was regarded as one of the top wide receivers in Michigan, a multi-sport standout who led his team to the Division III state championship and a perfect 14-0 mark this past fall, was an all-conference and all-area selection, multi-year starter and letter winner for a team that set a school record with 722 total points this past season, where he tallied more than 1,200 total yards and 20-plus touchdowns.
722 points. I can't believe that Coach Fairfield let Coach White run up the score like that, but it's just kind of an inside joke. But I think we held the records when I was at Muskegon, and Brent and his offense kind of annihilated our records. But obviously CJ's a great athlete. You know, his numbers could have been, you know, twice as much as they are here, but they had a lot of people share the football, very similar to our offense, and obviously their quarterback, Darius Jefferson, carried the ball a lot and had a lot of yards, but CJ's a multiple weapon, so in Muskegon's offense, you know, they were able to, you know, let him carry the ball in the slot and also throw the ball to him in the slot. But we're anticipating he's going to be an outside receiver for us. So he'll be more of a guy that kind of plays a Malik Taylor style of football. He's a great athlete, basketball player, can really run, can really catch, can really make people miss after catches, and is, you know, a physical ball carrier when he's, you know, making yards after contact. So we feel great about CJ. Coach Fairfield, again, one of my best friends, a longtime assistant, and a guy that I, you know, very close with and talk to on a regular basis. So happy to get another Muskegon guy. We got another one coming I'm talking about in the few minutes, but I don't know. That might bring us up to 8 to 10 guys from the Big Red team, and one of 2 guys that won state championship rings this year on our recruiting class to rub it in a little bit. But proud of the Big Reds and proud to get C.J. Jefferson.
Up next is a defensive lineman from Detroit Loyola High School, Keith Johnson, 6'3", 255 pounds, who played both linebacker and tight end for Detroit Loyola. Among other positions, was a 2-year starter and 3-year letter winner, 2-time All-Conference and All-Area Choice, also twice garnered All-State accolades, and received strong recruiting interest, has played basketball for Loyola High School as well, was an All-Catholic League honoree, and an All-Detroit Public School League Metro standout on both the hardwood and on the gridiron.
Yeah, very similar to Haas Manis from Three Rivers. Keith Johnson is another big guy who's a good basketball player, so that theme resonates with me. Big guys who can play basketball, I love that. And so 6'3", 255, great athlete, guy that if you watch his highlight film, he's playing tight end and he's catching the ball and running with it. And so he'll probably be with his hand in the dirt for us, and not so many opportunities to touch that ball unless he scoops up a fumble or makes a pick or something of that sort. But he's a good athlete, a physical guy, and a guy that could move into all 4 spots on our D-line. And you know, our D-line has been a huge force for us. You know, we've been, you know, the best defensive run-stop team in the league, you know, going on 3 years straight now. So got to recruit guys like Keith and continue that, you know, that theme, and we feel great about Keith.
Up next is a talented dual-threat quarterback from West Catholic Prep High School in Philadelphia, Davion "Kid" Jackson, a 6'1", 185-pound standout, who was a 3-star prospect, named to the Blue and Gray All-America list and invited to the prestigious All-Star Game, was a first-team All-Catholic League choice and an All-State honoree. Led West Catholic High School to an 8-4 record in 2017, has also been a standout on the track, was tabbed as one of the top 25 players in Pennsylvania by 247 Sports, also nominated for the 2017 Mr. Pennsylvania Football Honor as the top player in the state, and ran for 745 yards and 10 scores on the ground as a senior.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for, is a dual threat guy. So I'll be talking about 3 of them. Let's see where, you know, all 3 of them play. But, you know, I'm giving all 3 of the guys, you know, Davion and the next guy I talk about is Desmond and Kai, who I'll talk about later. I'm giving all 3 of them a shot to be our quarterback. I'll be honest with you. One of them will stay at that position for sure. The other 2, we'll see what happens. But, you know, Davion's really a polished quarterback. Watch his highlight film, and you'll see, you know, what I mean by polished, but highly respected in that area. You know, we recruit nationwide, particularly for a quarterback. So this one happens to be from Philly, and hopefully he got enough rest after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but the other 2 from out of state as well. So nationwide for a quarterback, we've got a very specific skill set, a specific profile that we're looking for, and Davion fits it perfectly. He can really run. He throws it well. He's a track athlete, sub 50, 400 guy. I think he said like 48.5 in the 400, sub 22 in the 200. So he's got that long speed that Reginald Bell had when he broke out and got out ahead of people. No one was catching him. Davion's kind of the same way. But he's a great young man, and we're excited. His family's great, and it's a cool thing to get a great player like this, and we're hoping to have him be a force in the coming years.
Up next is another talented athlete, Desmond Libertas, a 6'1", 180-pound standout from Bellefontaine, Ohio, who was a standout quarterback and defensive back, received strong recruiting interest from the Division I level, a talented athlete who was chosen as the league's Offensive Player of the Year, an all-conference and all-state selection who ran for more than 1,000 yards and threw for over 1,300 yards as a junior, compiled nearly 1,300 rushing yards and 1,600 passing yards as a senior, while ranking among the top 5 players in the Central Buckeye Conference in both categories, garnered All-Ohio recognition, and scored 42 touchdowns in his senior campaign.
Yeah, with Desmond, we started looking at his film, and we're like, man, this kid is a great athlete. And one of the things that impressed me about him is he long jumped over 23 feet as a junior, and so that's significant. I mean, that's being an athlete. And so after a while, I'm like, well, his quarterback film is great. So I see you got him listed as an athlete here. He's going to be mad about that because we're going to give him every chance to be a quarterback here first. But he certainly is an athlete, and so he would understand that. But big guy, 6'1", 180, runs well, obviously has great power if you can long jump over 23 feet. And so very savvy, make you miss kind of quarterback, moves around in the pocket great, makes great plays. His high school coach, Toby Smith, said that, there's times he'd run a play and he could see how the defense was set, and he's like, well, this is a dead play, but, Des will make something out of it. And so that's the beauty sometimes of having great athletes play quarterback, and that's what we've been the benefit of for the last 6 years, and we're going to continue to do that with Des and some of the other guys we got. But great family, and really excited to get him. He was one of our earliest visit guys on official visits, and made us wait a while to get that commitment. But really excited to have Desmond.
Up next is a wide receiver from Kalamazoo Central High School, Darius Pruett, 6'4", 205 pounds, who was a highly recruited prospect, guided his squad to a 9-2 overall record as a senior, has also been a talented basketball player, a 2-time All-State selection in 2016 and 2017, a multi-year starter and letter winner for the Maroon Giants, who was ranked among the Lake Michigan Football Report's top 20 prospects, regarded as one of West Michigan's top all-around talents, led his team to a conference championship as a junior, and has been a team leader and captain.
Yeah, coached by Dana Chambers, who's a great guy who's been in the college game for a long time and just recently resigned there at Kalamazoo Central. But Darius is he's a great athlete. You look at how his numbers go in basketball again, and he's just doing some things on the hardwood that's very impressive. So last year he was a significant part of a great basketball team. Now he's kind of the guy, scoring a lot of points and doing the things he needs to do to be successful on the basketball court. And again, I love that. Beyond that, he's 6'4", 205. We got him listed a wide receiver, but it might be safety. He can play either of those two positions, and he's got great hands, great instinct, a big guy, and a great athlete. So no-brainer for us. We loved Darius from the beginning. I saw him this summer several times and knew right then that we wanted to make a good pitch for him. So thrilled to get Darius Pruett to be a Bulldog.
Up next is Joe Scott, a tight end, 6'6", 235 pounds from Montague, who played both tight end and on the defensive line, earned Muskegon Chronicle Dream Team honors, finished the 2017 season with 43 solo tackles, 33 assists, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 forced fumbles, was a team leader on both sides of the ball, who led his team to an 11-1 record as a senior, all-area selection, who has also competed in baseball and wrestling, earned all-conference and all-state honors, led his squad to the 2017 Michigan High School Football State Playoffs.
Yeah, Joe, Coach Collins got with me late on Joe. He actually pushed me quite hard to get him on campus, and we just got him on campus last Thursday. But he's a guy that, reminds me, I know this is scary stuff, but of Zach Sealer. Got a big frame, 6'6", 235, but with potential to grow. So we'll see. You know, when we took Sealer back, several years ago, we didn't know where he's going to play. He's just a big frame guy, tall guy that, we thought might fit a spot eventually, and obviously he did that. But Joe's the same way, big guy. He could end up being a DN. He played DN for Montague. Might be a tight end or an H-back for us. But obviously a great athlete and a person that we think is a guy that will contribute here in the coming years.
Up next is another West Michigan product from Muskegon, Willie Shanks, 6'2", 185-pound defensive back who broke Muskegon's single-season school record for interceptions with 10 in 2017, led the Big Reds to the Division III state championship, has also been a standout on the basketball court, who received strong recruiting interest. He topped the school record of 8 interceptions in a year held by 3 other players, listed among the Lake Michigan Football Report's top 50 players in the class of 2018, was an all-conference and all-area choice, also a multi-year starter and letter winner.
Yeah, very long. Bo, as we call him, is a very long athlete, 6'2", 185. Just really came in his own his senior year. With 10 interceptions, that's significant. He texted me the other day and said, "Coach, what's the school record for interceptions?" And I had to ask Coach Hodges, and I texted back to him, and he said, "Oh, I'll beat that." So I love that. But, one of my former players there had 8 interceptions to break the school record, Ronald Johnson, who ended up playing at Southern Cal. And to break that record, Ronald Johnson's record is pretty incredible. To have that many interceptions is pretty incredible. And so we, again, basketball, but we watched him play a couple weeks ago, and another GLIAC school was there, recruiting him, and he scored 34 points. So it was pretty. He put in a good show for both my coaches that were there in attendance, and the other GLIAC school was there in attendance. But we were fortunate enough to get that commitment and got him signed, and so we feel great about him. He's definitely a winner. He's definitely a guy that there's got a lot of upside, and it's a little bit different in that he's 6'2", can really run, but we haven't had the long corners. We've had great corners the last couple of years. Tavi hasn't. Tavi was 5'10", and Javante was. I better say 5'9", or he'll get mad at me. But Bo was 6'2", so that's a great thing to have.
Next up, from Helix High School in California, we have Jaden Enugu, a 6'1", 180-pound defensive back who is a highly regarded and talented prospect, a first-team All-San Diego County selection, a hard-hitting defensive back who was named to the Prep Pigskin Report's All-Dogs first team for his play, a 2-year starter and letter winner, helped lead his team to a 13-2 overall record in 2017 for one of the nation's top 35 teams nationally by Max Preps. Took part in the Southern California Honor Bowl, helped his team win a regional championship this past year, and reached the Division I AA championship final.
Yeah, we're thrilled to get Jaden, and people say, how do you pull off somebody from San Diego? But we got Jovan Bayless last year. Love Jovan Bayless, and our young men, they feel so good about Ferris. They'll go out and recruit guys on their own, and then they'll flood me with text messages and, hey, watch this huddle film. And so, I'm almost blind now that I'm getting older, and so I'm trying to look at the film on my phone all the time. But, that's the great connection we have and with our guys. And Jovan's mom is a good recruiter back in San Diego. So we got connected with Jaden, and Coach Roan got out there and visited with the family, and we loved him. Watch his film. He's a hard-hitting. He's the safety we've been looking for, really a guy that can really run and hit and still cover. He's got great savvy. They're not easy to find, and our really, truthfully, our DBs are kind of getting like our quarterbacks in that we'll travel nationwide, and our slots nationwide to find them. And so, yeah, we think Jaden's going to be a guy that will be here as a multiple-year starter and perform outstanding on our field.
Next up, from Oak Ridge High School in the Orlando area, out of Florida, Marcus Taylor, 5'9", 170-pound slot receiver, who was a talented playmaker at wide receiver and in the slot last fall. Caught 62 balls for nearly 1,000 yards and 16 scores as a senior, while averaging more than 16 yards per catch. A multi-sport athlete who has also competed in basketball along with track and field, was ranked among the leading receivers in Central Florida last fall. Selected to play in the Central Florida All-Star Game, has also been a standout performer in the classroom, plays point guard for one of the nation's top-ranked basketball squads, and has been an all-area choice and one of the top 40 players ranked in Central Florida.
Well, so Coach Brady went down there and spent some time in Orlando, and all the coaches in the area were saying, well, the best player in the Orlando area is Marcus Taylor. And so we immediately watched that film, and we're like, oh, boy, this is our kind of guy. So, again, a basketball player who's a point guard on a nationally ranked team, and they're really good, and Marcus is very competitive. And beyond that, you watch his football film, and he's a wow. And we've had great slots, inside receiver guys, but, Marcus is kind of a combination of some of the better slots we've had. He reminds me a little bit of Jamel Lockett and how he runs, and Jamel was a great player for us, and Dante Ingraham on making people miss, and Dante made people miss like you wouldn't believe. And so, Marcus fits that perfect mold of slot who can stretch the field vertically, and also carry the ball out of the backfield, and also be a good blocker and a competitive guy and a reliable receiver. And so we feel great about him. We think that he's a little bit bigger. I know that sounds funny when I say 5'9", 170, but he's bigger than a couple of the slots we have right now. Deion Earls is not as big as Marcus, great player, and Deontay Harrington as well. So he fits in the mold of what we've had here at slot, and we think he's just got a great upside, and we're thrilled to get Marcus Taylor.
Up next from West Ottawa High School in Holland is Xavier Wade, 6'3", 180-pound wide receiver, who was a standout both at wide receiver and in the defensive backfield. Plans to compete in both football and basketball at Ferris State. Caught 71 balls for 1,200 receiving yards and a state-high 18 touchdowns this past fall. Led his team to a conference championship. Was named to the Grand Rapids Press MLive Dream Team. A two-time All-State honoree. Who was also named to the 2017 Detroit Free Press All-State Dream Team. And was tabbed among the top prospects in the class of 2018 by the Lake Michigan Football Report.
So, when you go to the Dream Team banquet, it's in Dearborn, Michigan, there's 23 players who are 2017 Dream Team players, 23 of them, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and a kicker punter. And Xavier was on that team. And so I was the keynote speaker at that banquet, and I didn't say a word to him, and I wanted obviously to get him, but I just didn't feel that was the right venue to do that, because he was celebrating something that was more significant than just a recruiting circumstance. So then when I started recruiting him, I loved him more and more every time I recruited him, and then I watched him, I guess, in 3 different basketball games, and loved him more and more. I watched him compete on the basketball floor, and he's playing, for Steve Windemuller, who's a great friend of mine on the basketball end of West Ottawa, and obviously played for Osh in football. And so it's great connections. Really enjoyed visiting with the family. And the more and more I learned of this young man, the more and more I wanted him. Then he had a Division I visit, and I had to sweat out that weekend. And he chose to come to Ferris State and turned down the Division I offer he got. So thrilled to have him. He's going to be like Deshaun Thrower and give the two-sport deal a go, but he's a legit point guard for West Ottawa. And like I said, West Ottawa has only lost 1 game. I don't want to put the pressure on them, but they look like the best team in West Michigan, either them or Godwin. But they've done a great job there, and he's a great player. So really thrilled to have him. And 6'3", 180, and can go get it, and looks more and more athletic every day. I watch him move on the basketball court, and I loved his high school football film.
Our next signee is from Jacobs High School in Illinois. Caleb Walker, 5'6", 160-pound slot receiver, who is a talented performer both in the backfield and in the slot. A 3-year letter winner at Jacobs High School, is the younger brother of current Bulldog tailback Josh Walker. Ran 44 times for 266 yards and 6 scores this past fall. Also had 16 catches for 246 yards and a score. Played for one of the top prep programs in Illinois. Was a multi-year starter and standout, and a highly regarded prospect with big playability.
Yeah, Caleb's another one of those slots that can really catch the ball. After discussing him with Josh, I said, he's a much better receiver than you, Josh, but Josh is working hard to get that better. But Josh, I think, is a little bit faster than Caleb, but Caleb's an outstanding receiver. We saw him at camp this summer, and he's got the same abilities. Everybody saw Josh when he ran the ball this year, and everybody was like, man, is he fast? And he's probably the fastest guy on our team, and Caleb keeps up with him. So Caleb can really turn it over as well, and like I said, got great ball skills and great ability to go catch it and make people miss, and again fits the profile of our slots, guys that are little and can catch and do some great things. So great family. We're really excited to get Caleb.
Our next signee is from Hardy High School in Florida. Kai Washington, a 6'1", 180-pound athlete / quarterback, was a standout who played both wide receiver and quarterback on the prep level. A 3-year letter winner who also played basketball, was able to lead his squad to a 7-4 overall record in 2017. Ran for nearly 1,200 yards on the ground with 20 scores. Also completed 63 of 107 throws for 936 yards and 9 scores. Total more than 2,000 yards as a senior. Was a dual-threat signal caller and served as a team captain. Was regarded as one of Big County Prep's top prospects in Florida.
Yeah, great young man. A lot of people down in Florida were sending me his name and his film, and a little bit off the beaten path there at Hardy High School. So, a guy that everyone thought very highly of. And so, I don't know, you people that know me or you feel confident that you can evaluate talent, look at Kai Washington and Des Libertas and Davion Jackson, and you guys can text me and tell me who you think is the better quarterback of those 3 guys. But they're all, I see we got him listed as athlete again, but they're all great athletes who can play quarterback. And so all 3 of them are going to get a chance to play quarterback. You watch, all 3 of them want to be a quarterback, and I want them to want to be the quarterback. So that's incredible. But, you see Kai run the ball, and as a junior he played receiver, and you can see his potential. His numbers are great. He's a basketball player. He's a track athlete. He's a superior football player. So we just feel like we got to steal with Kai, and we can't wait for him to be on campus, and we get to start working with him.
Up next is Quindarius Whitfield, a 5'10", 170-pound slot receiver from Edgewater High School in Orlando, Florida, who played both wide receiver and defensive back on the prep level. Displayed tremendous playmaking ability in an up-tempo attack. Has also been a standout on the track. Led one of the greatest program turnarounds in Central Florida history as the squad captured a district title this past fall. He tallied more than 800 yards rushing and receiving as one of the team leaders, led his team to the state playoffs, and was tabbed as a Central Florida All-Star selection.
Yeah, Quindarius is another one of those guys that's great athletes. So I've mentioned, a lot of slot guys, but I think we've got guys slated in here, maybe 5 guys at the slot position. We don't have many on campus. What do we have, 6 on campus? So we have 6 on campus, which isn't a lot. So we recruited a number of them, but Quindarius is also the taller kind of guy who can go out and play defensive back for us. So it's a no-brainer for us. He's very, very fast and athletic. Watch his film again, and we're very pleased that we got a great athlete in Q, and we feel like he's got the great drive and determination to be an all-star here over the course of his career here.
And last but certainly not least is Cameron Wirtz, a 6'5", 280-pound offensive lineman from Lakeview High School in Battle Creek, was a 3-year starter on the offensive line, a two-way starter this year who played both tackle and defensive end, led his team to 2 straight playoff appearances, was recruited by several mid-major programs, an Associated Press Division I/II All-State honoree, helped his offensive unit compile nearly 3,000 yards of total offense this past fall, and was a Michigan High School Scholar athlete.
Yeah, Cam was a guy we saw in camp in the summer. Loved him from the beginning, and Coach Parker really hung with his guys. The guys he liked in camp, communicated with him a lot and had that connection. And so these offensive linemen, for the most part, are guys that we ID'd, last year in junior tape, went and saw him in camp in the summer, loved him. And Cam is one of those guys that, we've been tracking for a long time. And we felt good right when he made the commitment, and he's been loyal with that commitment. Battle Creek Lakeview's kind of a veer team, and so they're a little bit heavier on their hand, and Cam would come off and strike you well. But we feel like there's a lot of upside to him when he gets in with us and trains with us over the course of his career. We feel he's going to have a great chance to be a great one for us.
That wraps up our breakdown of this year's recruits. We'll open the floor at this time for questions for Coach Anise.
Coach, over the last number of years, you've had a lot of success recruiting in the state of Michigan, but looking at this list, you got 11 guys from out of state. What do you attribute your success recruiting out of state this year to?
Well, it's just all about identifying athletes. There was less, high-profile guys in West Michigan that were D1 guys, and we're recruiting right with the MAC. We're recruiting against the 3 MAC schools in Michigan, and we identify those guys, and we're trying to steal a guy here and there, and so we feel like we did steal a few guys in Michigan, but there weren't as many great ones, and quite honestly, we're looking to, build this program, take it to the next level, and so we moved around a little bit. It wasn't like we were out there long, but the way the way social media is today, and the way we can kind of find guys and watch film, and then have them on campus and evaluate who they are, and also evaluate their skill set and their personality. We just had great fits from out of state, and so we rolled with that. And like I said, Marquise Dawsey is sitting here as one of our guys that have been here for a long time, and our out of state guys have been awesome. I mean, he's from Bradenton, Florida, and Manatee High School. Our out of state guys have been awesome. So I have no, people a lot of times say, hey, this is my my circle of where I recruit. I don't have a circle. I love to get people from anywhere. I love the guys we had from Florida, and I still love the guys that are on our team from anywhere in the nation. And so Javon Bayless is a kid from San Diego. He's as good a kid as we got on our team. So we've got that philosophy, and we've enjoyed that philosophy, and it's worked well for us, and it kind of worked at an extreme this year, but we're still feel like it's a great class.
Coach Chris Gorski, Fox 17. On the
How you
flip
doing,
side,
Chris?
I'm doing well. On the flip side of that question, it seems like a lot of the guys you got in Michigan were hard-fought, sought-after guys. What allowed you to win so many of those battles, especially here in West Michigan?
Whew, man, that's a good question. I hope it has to do with our family atmosphere, because everyone sells culture. Everyone sells culture. So culture is a word that great teams use, but it's also a word that poor teams use. So how do you examine culture? Well, you really examine it by, being transparent and being, authentic on who you are. So I just want people to be on our campus. A lot of people get in a panic. They're like, well, you haven't had an official visit yet, and we got to make a decision. And I'm like, well, our first official visit, is on this weekend. It was January 12th, 13th weekend. And the reason why is because we were playing on December 2nd. Well, I'm not going to bring young people on campus on December 9th when everybody should be getting ready for exam week. Okay, so I didn't have any hopes to have an official visit. And people sometimes will bring young people on campus, and they don't even have school in session. Why are you choosing a school when school isn't even in session? You don't even know what the culture's like as far as the school, let alone meeting the players and things like that. So I'm very determined to do it the right way. And so it's about really truthfully educating people on who we are. And so I want them to know who their teammates will be. I want them to know who I am. I want them to know what our academic programs are. I want them to know, what do people feel about Ferris State on campus? Do they love the university, or do they say, man, I wouldn't have went here if I had to do it again? No, everybody says great things about it. So once they get on campus, and the young people that you're saying we got in recruiting battles with, which you hit it on the nose, we had several of them, they chose us because of the culture and the comfortability of who I am, who our coaching staff is, what Ferris State represents, and who our football players are ultimately. Because our football players, when we have official visits, our football players might come back and say, Coach, he's not our kind of guy. And then I drop him. Or they might say, Coach, this guy's going to be awesome. We want to keep him. We want to get him. And then I fight for him. And then that's why our retention rate is so great, because when people come here, they know enough about us to say, this is where I want to be, and their heart's in it. Where sometimes young people say, they've got pretty things, I will go there. Or they promise number 27 or whatever, which are the manipulative things that recruiters do. I don't like the manipulation. I want them to know who I am and have them choose Ferris State for the right reasons.
Talked a little bit about how your recruiting season gets shortened up a little bit when you play deeper and deeper into December. How did it change it a little bit this year, again, playing into December for the second straight year?
Well, one of the, particularly one GLIAC school, but, they're all trying to get early commitments. And so one school really got on guys early and got a lot of early commitments before we could get out there, which that's all right. We found different players that probably better than the ones that we were going to pursue in the first place. So that's awesome. But, that's the way it is. Some people recruit, for attrition. When I mean by that, if you've got a recruiting class that's so big that you can't even, have that big of a roster, do the math. I'll just throw the number 50 out. If you're recruiting 50 kids and then for 5 years you got 50, that's 250. Who's got 250 players on their team? And so if you're recruiting a big class, you're recruiting for attrition, meaning you're recruiting to keep half of them. We don't recruit that way. When they sign up to be Ferris State Bulldogs, we're committing. I always tell the parents, you're basically handing him off to us, like a relay and track. We're carrying the baton for him, and we want to be that force in their lives to help them be successful. That's our mission. Our ultimate goal is to help these young men be successful in all aspects of their life. So we're recruiting to keep them all and to help them all be successful. And so, that's what we identify. That's what we do, and we're not recruiting just a ton of guys just to, put a bunch of guys on campus. That's not the way we do business, and the university wouldn't allow me to do business like that if I wanted to.
Special thank you to our football staff and Coach Anise for being here today. Congratulations again on the exceptional class of recruits who have joined the Bulldog football program. I'd also like to thank the media in attendance today, along with our athletic communications team, for all of their efforts in making this event possible. And a special thanks to all of you who watch statewide, online, and around the world on the Bulldog Sports Network. A reminder, following today's press conference, you could find out more information, along with photos, video, and more, at ferrisstatebulldogs.com throughout the day here on National Signing Day. It's a great day to be a Bulldog.
It is a great day to be a Bulldog.